Hey folks, there. If you're into jaw-dropping stories that make you think, buckle up, this one a wild ride. We're diving into a shocking moment from the World War II that left even the toughest Soviet leaders stunned. Subscribe the channel for more gripping tales and drop your truth in comments. Okay, the train revolt that shocked Stalin. How an entire train of Soviet soldiers ended up in hot water. World War II was a brutal time, not just for the battle but for what it did to people's hearts and mind. It pushed everyone to their limits, fear, uncertainty, and the execution could break even the toughest folks. In the Soviet Union, keeping discipline in the army wasn't just a rule, it's a war. It was a matter of life or death. But what happened when discipline collapsed and the whole train full of soldiers turned into a chaotic mess? That's exactly what went down in June 1944 and the train station called Krasnoarmeyska in Ukraine. This is a story about human nature, leadership gone wrong, and the furious response from the top. Picture this in the summer of 1944 and World War II raging. The Soviet army pushing forward, but the enemy still too nut to crack. Trains packed with the fresh troops and rolling toward the front lines to fill gaps left by heavy fighting. One of those trains carrying about 1,200 soldiers from the 166th Regiment of the 6th Reverse Division pulls into Krasnoarmeyska station on May 18, 1944. It's supposed to be a quick stop, letting other trains loaded with the tank and ammo pass through to the border of Romania and Czechoslovakia, where brutal battles are happening. But something goes terribly wrong. The soldiers, fresh out of strict barracks, are suddenly on their own. The officer chilling in a separate train car barely check on the troops. They don't know their men and aren't keeping things in check. And the soldiers, they're on edge. They know the front lines are waiting and the chances of coming back alive are slim, nervous and frightened, and many of them want to blow off steam. Some start trading their rations like canned meat and condensed milk for booze from local hustlers. Others even swap their uniform for a bottle of liquor. The station is crawling with the snazzy dealers and nobody cracking down on them. The trains get stuck at the station for 3 whole days. 3 days. That's plenty of times for trouble to breathe. Money and food run out fast, and some soldiers, feeling by alcohol, start wandering into town, stealing wherever they can. By the third day, things spiral out of control. A group of drunk soldiers decided to cook some food over a fire. Problem is they don't have an axe to chop wood. So Thompson get the brilliant idea to use a landmine to break up the boards. Yeah, landmine. You can guess what happened next. It explodes. 4 soldiers are killed, 1 spot, and 9 more injured. The blast is so loud it finally gets the officer out their car. But when they try to restore order, all hell breaks loose and full-blown riot erupts. A riot during wartime. The disaster waited to happen, and this one was a doozy. The troublemakers tearing things up were a group of about 440 soldiers with criminal background. Why were they even there? By 1944, the Soviet Union was running low on manpower. They were drafting anyone who could counter fire, including folks with rap sheets. These guys weren't exactly thrilled about army rules, and without strong leadership, they saw their chance to chaos cast. When the officer tried to step in, the soldier turned on them, beating them up and taking their weapon. So why did the thing get too bad? For starters, the officer dropped the ball big time. Sitting in their own car, they were completely out and touch with their men. They didn't know who they were leading or what was going on. Second, the train was put together in a rush with no proper check. It ended up packed with people who weren't ready for the discipline of war. And finally, the station was a mess. Local hustlers were selling booze left and right, and nobody stopped them. It was a recipe of disaster. When words of Revolt reached Moscow, the reaction was swift and fierce. The Soviet secret police, called Smersh, reported everything straight to the top. Joseph Stalin, as a Soviet leader, was livid. In 3 years of war, nothing like this had ever happened in the Red Army. A whole train of soldiers meant to fight for their country had turned into a mob. This was just a failure of disciplines. It was a slap in the face to the army reputation. Stalin, known for this iron fist, didn't hold back. Hear what we done. General Kalinin, the guy in charge of the Kharkov military districts, General Stepan Kalinin, got the boot. 5 days later, he was slapped with a criminal case for slacking on the job. They dug up his past to turn out he been critical of Soviet politicals like collectivization and purges, saying the USSR lagged behind the West in productivity. The results: 6 years in jail during the investigation, followed by 25 years sentence in a labor camp. Division commander General Kovalenko, who led the 6th Reserve Division, got off lighter with a reprimand. He'd only just taken the job and was directly involved in picking the train soldier, so he'd dodged a harsh punishment. Still, he carried took one hit. Officers on the train, they were stripped of their ranks, medal, and sent to penal battalions. Units where survive was a long shot. It was a brutal wake-up call. Soldiers and sergeants, the regular leaders, mostly criminal types, faces military tribunals. The rest of the soldiers were sent to penal companies where they have to prove themselves in the bloodiest battle. New rules. Stalin personally signed order from the People Commissariat of Defense demand strict checks on troop trains. From then on, only the best officers were assigned to keep things in line during these trips. To really get why this incident was such a big deal, let's zoom out and look what was happening in the Soviet Union in 1944. The war had taken a massive toll. Millions of soldiers and civilians had died, and the economy was stretched thin. Factories were churning out tanks and bullets, but food and basic goods were scarce. According to historians, the USSR were scraping the bottom of the barrel for manpower, which why they started drafting people with criminal records. That's a big part of why this train was such a powder keg. With the war disrupting normal supply chains, hustler and speculator popped up everywhere. At places like Krasnoarmeyska station, you could trade a can of meat of a bottle of moonshine with was more than a worker Muslim pay. This kind of environment made it easy for things to spiral out of control, especially when soldiers were left to fend for themselves. The army itself was a mix of all kinds of people. Young recruits, hardened criminals, and battle-worn veterans. Without strong leadership, that mix was a ticking time bombs. The incident showed just how fragile discipline could be when the pressure was on. This story hits hard because It's a human. War brings out the best and worst in people. These leaders weren't monsters. They were scared, stressed, and looking for a way to cope. Facing death on the front lines, some turned to booze or rebellion to escape their fears. Can you blame them? They were regular folks, not storybook heroes. But the officer, they messed up big time. Leadership is just about giving orders. It's about knowing your people and being there when things get tough. If they'd been more involved, maybe they could stop the cause before it started. And Stalin reaction, harsh, sure, but its context war, it makes sense. One slip up like this could tank the morale of the entire army. He had to send a message that slope lines wouldn't be tolerated. It's tough call, but war doesn't leave much room the lionessly. The Krasnoarmeysk train riot isn't just a wild wartime story. It's a reminder of how quickly things can fall apart without strong leadership and discipline. It's about people punished to their limits and the consequences of letting things slide. If this tale got you thinking, hit the subscribe button for more stories that bring history to life. Drop a comment below. What do you think about the soldier actions, the officer mistake, or Stalin response? What you have handled indifferently? Let's get the conversation going. And thank you so much, and bye bye.